It was a cold Wednesday afternoon in Chicago, the kind of day where the wind felt like glass cutting through the bones, and hope felt like a luxury no one could afford. The fluorescent lights inside the small corner pharmacy hummed faintly, the smell of antiseptic and paper mixing with a quiet tension that hung in the air. Standing near the counter, a young woman named Clara Mitchell clutched her worn leather wallet as if it held the last thread of her dignity. Her 3-year-old son, Ethan, was asleep in her arms, his small chest rising weakly with every shallow breath. He had been sick for days, fever, coughing, and now trouble breathing. The doctor had said he needed antibiotics immediately, but standing there, as the cashier repeated those 5 words, "I'm sorry, ma'am, your card declined," Clara felt her entire world collapse in slow motion. Before continuing, if you believe in kindness, compassion, and second chances, please take a moment to like this video, share it with your friends, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to our channel for more stories that touch the heart and restore faith in humanity. Clara stood frozen, her eyes glassy but dry. She had already tried 2 cards, one maxed out, the other empty. She felt the stares of people behind her in line, silent judgments pressing down on her back like weight she could no longer carry. The pharmacist's voice softened. "Maybe try another card, ma'am," she said gently, glancing toward Ethan, whose head rested on his mother's shoulder. Clara fumbled in her purse, hands trembling. There was nothing left to try. She whispered, "Can you please hold the medicine? I'll come back later." Her voice cracked halfway through the sentence. Ethan stirred in her arms, coughed weakly, and murmured, "Mommy, can we go home now?" Clara's lips quivered as she nodded, pressing her cheek against his hair. She was about to turn away when a calm but firm voice behind her said, "Try mine." Everyone turned. A man in his late 30s, wearing a gray business suit and a look of quiet kindness, stood behind her. His name was Daniel Hayes. He held out his credit card toward the pharmacist without hesitation. Clara spun around, startled. No, I can't accept that," she said quickly, her pride trying to shield her from complete collapse. But Daniel only smiled softly, a reassuring kind of smile that seemed to carry warmth in it. "You're not accepting anything," he said gently. "I'm just helping." The pharmacist hesitated, but eventually took the card. Within moments, the transaction went through, and the medicine bag was handed over. Clara's throat burned with unshed tears as she whispered, "Thank you, sir. I don't even know your name." Daniel simply nodded, his tone kind but composed. "You don't have to. Just take care of your son." He gave her a small smile and walked away before she could say anything more. That night, as Clara sat beside Ethan's bed, watching him sleep peacefully for the first time in days, she thought about the stranger in the pharmacy. She didn't even know how to find him, but she prayed for him with all her heart. Life had been unforgiving to her lately. After losing her husband in a car accident 2 years earlier, she had been juggling 2 part-time jobs, one at a diner, one cleaning offices at night. Even then, the bills always seemed to grow faster than her paychecks. And yet, in that single moment at the pharmacy, someone's kindness had broken through the storm of her despair. Days turned into weeks, and Ethan slowly recovered. Clara managed to save a small amount each week, determined to repay the man who had helped her. She even went back to the pharmacy, asking the clerk if they knew the gentleman who had paid for her medicine, but all they remembered was his name on the receipt. Daniel Hayes. She tried searching online, but Chicago was a big city, too big for a woman like her with no connections. Then one rainy morning, as Clara rushed to work at the downtown diner, fate intervened again. She was wiping down tables when the doorbell chimed, and in walked a familiar face. It was Daniel. Dressed in his usual charcoal gray suit, he looked tired but composed, holding a briefcase and scanning the room as if searching for a quiet spot. Clara's heart skipped a beat. She hesitated for a moment before walking over. "Good morning, sir," she said, forcing a smile, though her hands trembled slightly. He looked up, his eyes widening in recognition. "Clara," he said softly, "you work here?" She nodded, embarrassed but trying to stay composed. "I've been meaning to find you," she said, her voice low. "I never got to thank you properly that day." Daniel smiled faintly. "You don't need to. You already did by being here." His words confused her, but he continued. "That day, I saw something I used to see in my own mother's eyes." He told her about his past, how his mother had raised him alone after his father left. There were times when they couldn't afford food or medicine, and once a stranger had helped them at a pharmacy too. "That act of kindness changed everything for us," he said quietly. "It reminded my mother that good people still exist. So when I saw you that day, I knew I had to pay that kindness forward." Clara felt her eyes sting. She didn't know what to say, but Daniel simply ordered a cup of coffee and stayed a while, talking about ordinary things, books, work, life. Before leaving, he handed her a card and said, "If you ever need anything, work, advice, or just someone to talk to, call me." For weeks she didn't. Pride, fear, uncertainty, they all held her back. But one evening, after her boss at the diner reduced her shifts, she finally called. Daniel answered immediately, and within days, he helped her apply for a better job at a small office he owned, a logistics firm that needed a part-time assistant. Clara started there quietly, unsure if she could fit in. But Daniel treated her with respect and kindness, never once making her feel like a charity case. Over time, Clara began to rebuild her confidence. Ethan loved visiting her office after school, and Daniel would often bring him small toys or books. Slowly, Clara realized something she hadn't felt in a long time: stability. Months passed, and one December evening, as snow dusted the city in white silence, Daniel invited Clara and Ethan to the company Christmas dinner. She hesitated at first, feeling out of place among executives and their polished partners, but Daniel reassured her with that same warm smile. "You belong here," he said simply. At the dinner, while everyone laughed and celebrated, Daniel raised a toast. "I want to thank someone special tonight," he said, his eyes finding Clara across the table. "Because sometimes, the people we help end up teaching us what true strength looks like." Clara felt her throat tighten. The room blurred slightly as she smiled through tears. After the event, as they stood by the window overlooking the snowy streets, Daniel turned to her. "You know, Clara," he said softly, "when I saw you that day at the pharmacy, I thought I was helping someone in need. But the truth is, you helped me remember what purpose feels like." She looked at him, speechless, and for the first time in years, she didn't feel broken. She felt seen. That winter marked a new beginning for both of them. Daniel's kindness didn't stop at that one moment. It blossomed into something deeper. He became part of their lives, not as a savior, but as a friend who cared. Over time, that friendship turned into something neither of them had expected but both quietly hoped for: love. A year later, Clara stood again in the same pharmacy, but this time she wasn't alone or desperate. Ethan, now healthy and cheerful, ran around holding Daniel's hand as they picked up vitamins and snacks. The same cashier recognized her and smiled knowingly. Clara smiled back, feeling tears well in her eyes. But this time, they were tears of gratitude. Because sometimes life's greatest blessings arrive not with thunder or grand miracles, but quietly, in the form of a stranger's outstretched hand at the exact moment your world is falling apart. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like, share, comment, and subscribe to our channel. Your engagement helps us spread more stories that celebrate kindness, compassion, and the beauty of second chances. Special request: comment below and tell us, Have you ever experienced a moment of unexpected kindness that changed your life? We'd love to hear your story. And as Clara, Daniel, and little Ethan walked out of that pharmacy hand in hand, the city lights reflected softly on the snow, whispering one timeless truth. Sometimes when life says declined, kindness says, try mine.